Hello, everyone. Welcome to Progress Junior Golf with Live Sport Now and the England Golf Young Ambassadors. My name is Steve Jackson, and this is Ian Waterhouse.
Steve, we're back. Happy New Year. Is it too late? Is it too late to say Happy New Year?
What's the date today? 18th today. Might be a little bit too late, but it is the first one of 2023, so I suppose we should do, shouldn't we? So,
and if you are watching the repeat, it's definitely too late.
Yeah, absolutely, yes. Now, this podcast is all about junior golf. It's about the next generation of golfers. It's about getting more boys and girls playing the game of golf. This is show number 27. And this is a review, This is what we covered in 2022. And it was a big year because the first year of the Progress Junior Golf podcast, we covered a lot of news stories about junior golf. We covered a lot of subjects as well. We discussed a lot of different issues within junior golf. So I think it's only right that we go back and we look at what we did cover, and let's have a bit of an assessment and find out, hopefully we've made a difference. But it's been a big year, hasn't it?
It had. Well, I mean, last year was a big year in so many aspects, wasn't it? Across the junior golf spectrum, just across the golf spectrum in general. We don't need to touch on certain things that happened, but it was a big year. It was a good year. It was the first proper year back after COVID, wasn't it? Really, So it's the first year we could all properly get back out and about again, and I think it was quite special. Of course, coming up in this podcast, we're going to have a little look ahead to 2023 as well. We do have some breaking news items that we're going to announce during this show as well. A new feature for 2023 as well is our question feature. This is a live podcast, so we want you guys to get involved, that you can comment. We can see your comments. We can even show them on screen as well. The live chat is now open. There's a link in the body of this broadcast. Take you straight through to Live Sport Now on YouTube. The live chat is open in there, so if you comment in there, we can see whatever it is you say. So if you've got any suggestions, or you think we're being silly, or you agree with us, definitely if you agree with us, let us know. We also have a question. Every now going forward, we're going to have a question of the podcast. Today's question is really, really simple. We want to know, our viewership, which club are you a member of? And if you're not a member of a club, just tell us, where do you play the most at? Name drop your club. We'll show it on screen. That's all you got to do. Comment below wherever you're watching it. Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, LinkedIn, YouTube. Wherever you're watching, best place to do it is Live Sport Now on YouTube in the live chat. But just get commenting below. We want to see which is the most popular club. That's what we want to know. So comment below.
And let me say, Ian, we're going to mention a lot of clubs during this show, because in particular with the news, we've got a lot of golfers which we're going to mention. So we're going to mention a lot of clubs. If you are a member of one of those clubs we mentioned, please get in touch, because we'd love to hear from you. And even more so, if you actually know the people who we're talking about, that would be, or even if you are that person, that would be even better, wouldn't it?
That'd be amazing. Yeah.
Absolutely, yes. Nice. Right, first things first then, we're going to cover the golf news first of all, and it's been a massive year, lots of golf stories to talk about. So, I mean, this could have gone for hours if it had gone through all the news stories, but I've tried to pick out some of the ones which were the biggest stories throughout the year. So, elite junior golfers, we covered a fair amount of them, doing really well in competitions, playing against men's competitions as well. So Frank Kennedy, 16-year-old from Cheshire, he won the Portuguese Men's International Amateur Championship, 65, 69, 64 and 71. Colin Burford, he won the Welsh Men's Open Stroke Play Championship. He's 17 years old. First Welsh winner since 2013 as well, so well done to him.
Yeah.
Grace Crawford, she won the Helen Holmes Scottish Women's Open, and then she went on and won the RNH Girls Under 16 Amateur Championship as well. Eagled the last hole to win there as well. Another person who's won, I think we've got a photo of her as well, Beth Coulter over in Ireland. She beat Sarah Byrne in the Irish Women's Closed Championship at Grange Golf Club, and that added to her 2 Irish Girls Closed Championships as well. So really well done to her. Yeah. Another very good young golfer as well, Jess Baker, 19 years old, from Gosforth Park. She won the Women's Amateur Championship at Hunstanton Golf Club, beat Louise Rydquist in the final 3 and 2. So well done to her. Now, multiple winners. We did mention a little bit there about people who've won more competitions. There's been a few, hasn't there? There's been lots of players who we've mentioned on numerous occasions.
A number of names to remember.
Absolutely. So let's start. Dylan Shaw Radford then from Huddersfield. He won the Carrish Trophy at Sillerton Solway. He won the Scottish Boys Open Championship. He won the Henry Cooper Masters. And he also won the Justin Rose Daily Telegraph Junior Championship at Quinta-Largo over in Portugal. So really great year for him. Another big year as well for Sophie Fulbrook. She actually won the girls competition, the Daily Telegraph. She also won the Bridget Jackson Bowl and the English Girls Championship at the Wilmslow. And if you remember, final round, she shot a 62 to win that competition. I think she came from something like 10 or 11 shots back to win that. So fantastic way to win a competition.
Right, it's not bad, is it?
We love some stories about siblings, don't we? So here's a couple for you. 16-year-old Oliver McAgee from the club. He won the Scottish Men's Closed Amateur Championship at Gale Links. And then his twin brother, Sam, he won the Race to the Macri final by 3 shots.
Well, here's a picture of Oliver. Look,
there he is. Absolutely, yeah. That's with the Scottish Men's Closed Amateur Championship. So, 16 years old, and like I say, his twin did very well as well there. Tyler Weaver, he from Bury St Evans, he won the English Under-18 Championship at Woodall Spa.
I was there.
Well done. Yeah, covered it. I no doubt you interviewed him as well afterwards, of course.
I did, yeah. Really nice lad as well, by the way, is Tyler.
Absolutely, yeah. Now, of course, his brother, though, completely outdid him, because what did his brother do last year? He appeared on the Progress Junior Golf podcast, of course.
I mean, that is the pinnacle, isn't
Absolutely.
it? That is the pinnacle of junior golf, is being on this podcast.
That's it.
We have no guests today, by the way. So it's just me and Steve.
Just me and you. Absolutely, yeah. But he was great to be on. We will mention him a little bit later, because we will go through some of the subjects which we covered. Right, juniors against professionals, because some of these juniors have done really well in professional events this year. Josh Hill, and this came right way back, almost to this point last year. 17-year-old amateur, made the cut in the Abu Dhabi Championship on the DP World Tour at Yas Links, and also the Dubai Desert Classic as well. And in particular, his third rounds, both on both occasions, he made the cut. Third round shot a 69 on both of those events. So really well done to him. Yeah. Another big event which involves both amateurs and professionals is the Sunningdale Foursomes. Hey, I'm gonna step back and go. I know someone who knows a bit more about this than me. It's over to you, Ian.
I know a little bit about Sunningdale Foursomes. Last year we broadcast it live, the semi-final finals. I'm delighted to say we have breaking news again. I haven't got my breaking news banner ready, but breaking news. I can confirm the final day, semi-finals and final of the Sunningdale Foursomes is going to be broadcast live again by our good selves. So you will be able to see all of the action as it happens live. Now, if you did miss any of it last year, you want to know what it's going to look like and what to expect. We've got a little video to play for you now of last year's final round. What a cracker it was. Lottie Woad and Rachel Gawley absolutely mesmerising in difficult conditions. Is how it looked.
Oh, what a great shot.
Look at that. It's been a long journey to get to this point. I often wonder, certainly for Lottie and Rachel coming up next, two young girls, they've had some tough matches along the way, of course, but mindset, you still must feel you've got a long way to go. How do you stay in it? You've had the first round, the second round, the third round, the fourth round, the quarterfinals. Now you're into the semis. You've got to play 2 rounds at least. Well, you've got to play 2 rounds today if you want to win. How do they keep going?
I think it comes down to process. All these players, anyone who comes to this event is pretty serious golfer normally, and they don't think about it like that. It's the old adage of one shot at a time, but when you witness them actually doing it, they really do just stay in the moment. They treat each shot as it comes, and don't get ahead of themselves. There's no other way to do it other than that, especially when you've got such a long haul. It's a lot of golf.
Oh, very dramatic, isn't it? Hairs on the back of my neck standing up there. You could hear in that clip, you could hear the voice of myself. And that was also Luke Bone, who's Lottie's coach. So very, very, very proud coach. They've done a very good job. Of course, Luke Bone out Farnham Golf Club. So where the English Under-18 Championship was in 2021. There you go.
And then, of course, won that final 6-5 against professionals James Ruth and Paul Hendrickson.
We must say with that, by the way, just quick, not to dumb it down or anything, because it was an incredible. The girls were untouchable, but they were, because of the way that the Sunnydale foursomes works in the format. They did go into that with 10 shots. So, but they were unstoppable. You know.
But yeah, I think if they'd been playing off scratch, I think it probably would have been. You know, they probably still would have won, wouldn't they?
I think so.
The 18,
it'd have gone a lot further, but yeah, they were really good. They just did put a foot wrong.
Now we have to mention as well, both Rachel and Lottie. It wasn't just their only victory in the year. So staying on with the news, Rachel went on and won the Rose Ladies Series at Walton Heath. That's an event obviously by Justin Rose and his wife. They organised that. Shot 69, won by 2 shots. And Lottie, and we have to say as well, happy birthday to Lottie for yesterday.
Happy birthday, Lottie.
We don't know how old she is, and also.
You don't ask that question.
Absolutely, we shouldn't ask that question, of course. But we do know that she's quite young, certainly younger than us two, anyway. And she went on from that. She won the RNA Girls Amateur Championship. I mean, she was good in the Sunnydale foursomes. She was even better when it came to that competition because just got better as the matches went on, and won the final 7-6, a 36-hole final at Carnoustie. And on the back of that, she gets an invite to play in the Augusta National Women's Amateur Championship. Hannah Darling and Anna Fuller, another couple who played in the Curtis Cup, they played in that last year, and I think there's a few other juniors as well, which we mentioned on this podcast, who will also be be playing in that it's just before the US Masters, isn't it? I think it's the week before.
Yeah, it is. It is. I think it literally is the week before. Just Jess Baker is in that. Charlotte Heath is in that. Kaylee McGinty, Lottie Wade, Amelia Williamson. They're all going to be playing in it as well. So congratulations and good luck to all of you. Of course, most of those guys, certainly Lottie and Rachel, now over in university in America now, well on the route to the LPGA, aren't they?
Absolutely, yeah. It won't be long. Now, another junior who's also going on to the bigger and better things this year. He's a professional, 19-year-old Northern Ireland golfer, Tom McKimbin. He's now qualified for the DP World Tour. And in his second event on the DP World Tour, he got a hole-in-one at the South African Open. He's from the same club as Rory McIlroy, which is Hollywood, if you've ever been there. No. Another girl who did really well on tour this year was Germany's Chiara Neuer, 16-year-old, secured her playing rights on the Ladies European Tour. There she is. And the reason why she's got that trophy is because as soon as she got playing rights on the tour, she went and won. She won the Aramco Team Series event at Jeddah. She beat Charlie Hull, who we might get mentioned on this podcast a little in the next few weeks or so.
Maybe. Do we might even have some breaking news, mightn't we, Steve?
We'll hold fire on that for the time being.
We do like breaking news.
Absolutely. She beat Charlie in a playoff there. So actually, just staying with the non-Brits, because we cover British golf, obviously, and Irish golf as well, but we have been covering junior golf of some overseas players, juniors who are doing real well. The Junior Presidents Cup that took place this year, the USA beat the international team 13-11, won the final day singles 8.5, 3.5. That was what made the difference there. English men's amateur stroke play, that was won by Christian Mass, a South African. That was the Braverton Trophy, won at Saunton Golf Club by 5. Another South African who did really well in the amateur championship at Royal Lytham St Anne's was Aldrich Potgeider. 17-year-old, became the second youngest ever British amateur champion.
Nice.
He beat Sam Bairstow, another player who you know very well, 3-2 in the final. And another Czech Republic's Louis Klein made his Challenge Tour debut. He finished 112, which is not bad, but he's 12 years old. So not bad at 12 years old.
That is sensational. I mean, 12 years.
Absolutely. Yes. Right. So there was a big event which took place this year. We might mention a little bit later on because he came on the podcast and spoke about it. Michael Gallagher organises the Irish Junior Open Tour. He also organised the first Champion of Champions event, which took place at Lochern over in Ireland. Winners from Iceland, Spain, South Africa, USA, Slovakia. 3 British winners in the different age categories. Brodie McIver from Scotland won the under-7 boys. Freya Jackson won the under-19 girls, and Ellie Wang won the under-7 girls. So well done to all those. Staying with junior tours, been lots of junior tours which have been mentioned on the podcast. US Kids European Championship that took place up in Scotland. Royal Musborough, the under-13, special mention here. Frankie Morton won with a 17 under par score for over 3 rounds, 67, 67, 65. So seriously good scoring there. Yeah. Junior European Open final that took place at the Hacienda Links in Spain. Luke Metcalf won the boys. The girls, though, was won by Sophie Clafton from Wallasey. Youngest ever winner of the girls' title. I think she's 12 or 13 years old. So well done to Sophie. I mentioned lots of tours. We mentioned Stephen Gallagher, British Junior Golf Tour, Robert Rock, Northern Junior Golf Tour, Shires. Let's give a few mentions of some of the big stories within those tours. The Robert Rock Junior Golf Tour, there was an event at Wharton Park where a lad called Nicholas Campbell shot at net 61, 11 under par. Nice. Now I know you love this when I used to do the guess the scores, but can you remember these then? The Northern Junior Golf Tour, then the rookies events, then Connor Best and James McMahon. What was their score then? 9-hole competitions. What was it under par? What do you reckon?
Oh, wasn't I wildly out because I was like 6 or something, but it was like 12 or something, wasn't it?
No, 20 under par over 9 holes.
I was going to say 21, but I didn't want to sound stupid.
Well, Charlie Porter, he did even better. He was 22 under par.
Yeah.
So James Miller is another one. This is actually 2 events which I organised. Northamptonshire Wonders competition, just another 9-hole competition. He won with a net 18, and then a few weeks later played in his first 18-hole competition, the Shires Junior Golf Tour Grand Final at Wellingborough, and shot a winning score of 51 points. 51 points, and
it's insane, isn't it? Like these kids are just, they get better and better and better, aren't they? You know what I mean? Like. Yeah. Let's stay with low scores then. So just a few ones which cropped up during the year. Rosie B. Kim, a player who you know very well from Buckinghamshire, she won the English Girls Under 16 Championship, 4 rounds in the 60s. So seriously good score in there at Formby Ladies. Doncaster's Josh Berry, he won a Clutch Pro Tour event at the Belfry, kind of the course record 65 in the final round there. Matt Dodbury, another course record here. This was in the Frank Stableford Scratch Open at Wallasey. Course record 66 in the first round. Then he shot 68 in the second round to win that. And Josh Retford, not a course record, but it probably should have been, shot a 9 under par 61 at Minchinhampton in the men's England Golf County final qualifier. His back nine, though, these were his scores on the back nine. 2, 3, 3, 2, 4, 3, 4, 2, 4. 27 shots for his back nine. That sounds a bit like me actually. We just added 1 in front of each of those, and that's about similar to my back nine.
Yeah. Well, let's be honest. We'd be absolutely thrilled if that was our crazy golf score.
Pretty good at crazy golf.
Yeah. Okay. Fair comment. Right. Yeah. Good point. Yeah. Right. Hole in ones as well. We've covered a few hole in ones over the year.
We've got a lot of those in crazy golf.
Not like these ones though. Right, a few outstanding ones. Hawaii State Amateur Championship, Niall Shields Donegan from Scotland, he won the competition, had a hole in one in the first round on a par 4 hole. That takes some doing. Jack McDonald at North Berwick, he had a 10 under par 61, started with 8 consecutive threes, and then started his back nine with a hole in one. Serious scoring, these guys. And then Alec Roberts, 12-year-old Alec Roberts, playing at his home course. I'm not sure what his home course was, but he got a hole in one on the 8th hole and then got a hole in one on the 12th hole. So 2 hole in ones on the same day. I mean, that's pretty good going. Right, just a couple of stories to finish with, and just to prove that we're not all about competitions when we do the news. A couple of stories which involve other aspects of junior golf. Juniors in charity events. 5-year-old Wigan golfer, I think we've got a photo of him, George Hughes. He became the youngest ever recipient of the England Golf Heroes handshake He helped raise.
Yes, we do have a picture. There it is.
There he is, your little 5-year-old George. He helped raise £100,000 for Freeman Heart and Lung Transplant Association in memory of his dad.
He deserves that, doesn't he? £100,000. Wow.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So really well done to him. And other awards as well, which cropped up this year, the England Golf Awards. I'm not sure if this is the first time they've done it, but it might well be first time since COVID, certainly. Young Ambassador of the Year was Kai Williams from Bedford County. We'll mention him a little bit later on. Participation and Development Coach of the Year was Aaron Cox from Blackwell Grange. Once again, we'll mention him later on as well. And Women and Girls Trailblazer Award, that was Hannah Crump from Stonebridge Golf Club. And we might well have Hannah on the podcast, or certainly one of her colleagues from Stonebridge coming up in the next few weeks or so. So good to hear from those. That wraps up the news then from the last year. Lots of things have happened during that year. And I think you'll agree, it has been a really good year as far as news is in junior golf.
We picked a good year to get going, didn't we, really?
Absolutely, yeah.
We would have struggled in 2020, and wouldn't we?
Yeah,
really? 2021. Not a lot of golf going on.
The story would have been about how someone hitting balls into a net in their backyard, and that was it, kind of thing. But yes, right now this obviously was the first year of doing the Progress Junior Golf podcast. I tell you what, Ian, I'm going to read out what my opening line was when we did the first podcast.
Okay.
So I started off. We're here to help juniors, parents, relatives, golf clubs, golf unions, golf companies, anyone associated with the game, and we're going to put together a series of episodes discussing various aspects of junior golf. We're going to have special guests, some of the biggest names in the sport, some lesser known, but people who can help grow this game we love to the next generation. And I think, Ian, we've done that, haven't we, over the last year or so?
I didn't realise that was the first sort of sentence. That's really nice, and it's that's your elevator pitch, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Somebody stops you in the lift, and it's like, well, what's it about? That's it. And I think it has. You know, we've had some incredible guests on over the year. We've seen some great sites. You know, we've been out in the field. We've it's been a real pleasure. But it's only going to get bigger. It's only going to get better in 2023.
Absolutely. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go through almost podcast by podcast, just giving a little bit of explanation to people who came on and what we discussed as well, and your memories of when they came on, my memories as well, and what we might have learned from those. Well, the first two podcasts, hopefully we should remember, because the first one, it was me explaining
me and you, wasn't it? Yeah,
absolutely, yeah. So it was me explaining what Progress Junior Golf was all about, which is a website which basically gives information to parents and kids about what competitions are out there to play in. It's the only website out there. There isn't another website out there which gives all the competitions. Anything which you want to go and play in is on that website. I go out there, I source it, I find out where these competitions taking place in the UK and Ireland. And if you want to go and play in a competition, you can look regionally, you can look at different tours, you can look on counties, junior opens. So it was all about trying to get people to see what's out there to play in. And then yourself, of course, Ian, you cover junior golf, not just junior golf, but also professional golf as well. So just give us a little bit of explanation of what you spoke about when you were on the podcast. Yeah,
well, from a broadcasting point of view, we work with a number of tours, 2020 Pro Tour. We work with now the Mizuno Next Gen Series. We worked with Euro Pro last year. From a junior side, we do a lot of England golf events, and of course, Faldo Series. And that's sort of how we first got in touch, wasn't it, Steve, via the Faldo Series. So that's what we do. We bring golf live. It's free to air as well, all across YouTube, Live Sport Now. Again, we are wanting you guys to get involved as much as possible. So if you do want to watch live golf in 2023, Live Sport Now is the place to do it. There is a link in the body of this broadcast. Give it a click, hit subscribe, and answer whilst you're there as well, because it'll take you straight through to this video. Whilst you are there, answer this question below as well, because we do want to know which club people watching, which club are you a member of. We just want to know, just comment. Tell us what club it is. We'll give it a shout out. Get your club out there. We'll give them a shout.
Are you allowed to give us a sneak preview in about what you're going to be covering this year as far as junior golf is concerned?
Junior golf wise, I've got some 2020 Pro Tour stuff. I know they're going to be doing the junior stuff.
Dropped you in it there, didn't I? You weren't expecting that.
We are doing Mizuno Next Gen Series, which formerly Clutch Pro Tour. I'm sure everybody probably knows it as Clutch Pro Tour, but of course Mizuno stepped in for title sponsorship. Now they do run a junior series as well. I've never covered the junior series before, but if it falls on the same day as one of the pro events, then there's a fair chance we'll do that. I must say, what a job Tom has done, by the way, with the Mizuno Next Gen Series this year. 1.8 million prize pot, Steve, for the professionals. 1.8 million. That some of that is obviously going back into the junior game because they're running their own junior tour as well as our 2020 Pro Tour as well. Pleased to say 2020 Pro Tour have just got a new headline sponsor for the season as well. ITS, I think it is. So we're going to be with 2020 Pro Tour for at least 6 or 7 events this year as well. If there's junior events on the same day as the pro event, we will cover a bit of that. We did some last year as well, actually up at Northcliffe. So we will be covering a bit of that as well. For the last couple of years, we've done the English Under-18 Championship. There's a high chance we'll probably end up doing that again. On a pro side, I'm delighted to say we'll be doing the Trilby Tour this year as well. Of course, it came back last year with Darwin Escapes, and we're going to be with those guys for this year. So that's really exciting as well. So there's a lot going on. There's a lot. And as of course I've said, the season for us starts physically on the course, Sunningdale Foursomes in March for the semi-final and final. But we will be there on the Tuesday beforehand. You'll be there as well, won't you, Stu? So if anybody is in the area, fancy popping down to Sunningdale and come and say hello, please do. It's an immaculate. It's great, and you can just walk around as well. It's free to turn up. Just have a little walk around and see some incredible golf.
And I'm around thinking as well, I think Aaron Cox, who we will mention a little bit later on, he's organising a pro-am event in April at Woodall Spa. And well, I know this for certain because I am putting a junior team into that as well. And I know that you're going to be there broadcasting that one as well. So
yeah, well, every year, I mean, we work very closely with Aaron. And as you know, he's been a guest on the show. His junior section at Blackwell Grange up in Darlington is one of the best. And rightly so, he won that award with England Golf. And each year we've covered that event for him. Well, the last two events, we've covered them live for him. And of course, he's got a junior section. And what he's doing is just absolutely incredible. Yes, he's got a big event happening at Woodall Spa. We are going to be there for that. We are going to be live for that as well. So do keep your eyes peeled for that. So actually, I'm probably going to be doing, I think last year, I didn't do a huge amount of golf, actually. I mean, I did a lot, but not as much as I did in 2021. Whereas this year, I think I'm probably going to do double the amount because I only did about 2 or 3 clutch events last year. I think we did 5 or 6 2020 Pro Tour events. We did 2 events for England Golf, 2 events for Euro Pro, Sunningdale Foursomes. That was about it. Whereas this year it's going to be a full schedule. So we're back, baby. We are back.
Good. Right, okay, let's move on then. So that was the first 2 podcasts we did, myself and Ian, talking about what we do with junior golf. The next podcast was on college golf in the USA. Got a photo, I think, of the people.
Yes, we have. I remember this one. Yeah.
Megan McLaren, obviously on the right, who's been to the college in the US, and obviously has now gone on to be a very successful professional golfer. And Bailey Pike, who was in the process, a junior golfer, who was in the process of actually going out or getting ready to go out to college in the US. She is actually out there at the moment. So best of luck to Bailey if she's watching this.
Good golfer, Bailey. Always wears shorts as well, even when it's raining.
Yes, and also always good to talk to you. She always enjoyed talking to you on the golf course as well. So it was great, and also
she don't enjoy it. I just don't give a choice.
And also joining as well was Pro Dream USA Managing Director Brendan McKenna. So we covered a lot of what happens with college golf, how to get out there, what involves out there. You know, the getting the blend between obviously the study and also playing the golf and what you learn with that. So that was the first podcast where we had guests on. The next podcast then was a subject which is close to my heart and close to a lot of, I think, the viewers is parenting in junior golf. It's a difficult subject to tackle because, you know, there's no right or wrong way of doing it kind of thing. But what we try to do is get a little bit of advice and ideas about how you might be able to adapt the way that you do it and try to get the best out of your child, or if you're organising the competition, try to get the best out of the parents as well. So on that show, we had Northern Junior Golf Tour founder Jason Budd. We had England Golf Young Ambassador Anya McKenzie on, and we also had PGA professional Gavin Grenville Wood. And this is what he had to say when he came on the show.
Piece of advice for parents that I know I wish if I had my time back I would do differently, and that is that I've been far too guilty of too often providing the solutions for my kids. I've got 2 boys, and they both play golf, but I've not let them struggle enough. I've been too quick to jump in because I've seen the pain that they're going through. And I just wish that I would have held back for longer in these situations to have had the kids go through the cycle of the pain that they're going through. It's a natural process. And it's, again, one of the topics that we talk about with coaches when coaching groups of children. they have to be allowed to find their own solutions. They have to be given the time to extract themselves from this pit that they've got themselves into. It's a pit of depression and doom, effectively, when they're playing badly or when things aren't going well. And, jumping in there too quickly as a parent or indeed as a coach is detrimental to the overall picture. So when you're looking at kids finding their own solutions, being responsible for the decisions that they make, if you jump in too quickly and provide that solution for them, they're never going to accept that responsibility or be accountable for the decisions that they've made. And that is a huge trait that these kids must adopt if they want to become elite level players. Whatever walk of life they go down, it's a really important skill for them to learn. Resilience and determination and I guess bloody mindedness to an extent. They have to be able to find a solution for themselves. And because golf is such an individual sport, you have 4.5, 5 hours out there by yourself. You might have a caddy at some point that you can lean on, but ultimately you are responsible for everything that happens. And if you don't get that, and I think this is tough love, right? And I'll put it under that category. But if you don't get exposed to that growing up, then when you are in desperate need of these solutions, when you're out there by yourself competing, you just won't be able to dig deep enough.
I think some sound advice there. Absolutely sound advice there. And this is someone, of course, as we, I fraudulently mentioned there, or accidentally mentioned the fact that he was a tour pro. It wasn't him who was a tour pro, it was his son. So this is someone who has gone through the process of having his son, go on to become a very good player. But even he was looking back and going, actually, I made mistakes as well. So very insightful piece from him. On the next podcast, what we move on to, we spoke about, we did junior golf and equipment and clothing as well, because this is something which, golf is not a cheap sport, and in particular buying equipment is concerned. So on that show, we had Golf and UK Operations Director Scott Robertson and Every Shot Counts junior golf clothing founder Charlie Albanese, who came on, and that was fascinating to hear what they are trying to do to promote junior golf and trying to keep the cost down, because it is important to keep that cost down, isn't it?
Oh, 100%. I mean, I've often said this before. Golf has got a problem that other sports, such as football, doesn't have. You can go into a sports shop, Sports Direct, or other sports shops are available, pick up a football for £2.50, £3. You can't do that in golf. You just cannot do that. And of course, golf, there's a certain etiquette. I could pretty much wear whatever I want. I could just get some cheap joggies or trackies or whatever and some cheap trainers and go play football. Golf, there's a certain snobbery attached to it, isn't there? Really, whatever we might think of it, there is. So it's not just you need hundreds of pounds, not just pounds, to get going. So it's important to find that happy medium, isn't it?
Yeah, and of course, when we had that show, that was probably at the start of the war in Ukraine, and obviously prices started rising. So even since then, the prices have gone up even more.
Well, that podcast would be a good one to have again, wouldn't it? 'Cause it's
absolutely
more,
start talking
now.
about it. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and also, with Charlie and his clothing company is obviously trying to get stock from overseas, which is not quite so easy as well now with things going on in the last year or so. Now, the next podcast is the person we mentioned on many occasions, was when Aaron Cox came on.
Be good, mate. Skippy.
I think by a distance, it was the longest podcast we ever did, because we asked him one question, then about an hour and a half later, he finished answering the question.
Sounds like Aaron. That you're a great lad, Aaron.
Absolutely, yeah. No, but and at the time there he is. Absolutely. At the time, he'd been nominated to be the England Golf Participation and Development Coach of the Year, and as we know, he went on to win that award. And I think his passion and the way that he spoke about what the things that he'd done at the club, you can see why he got that award, can't you?
He just gets it, Steve. He just gets it. I've never seen somebody with the drive that he's got. You just know he's going to be. He loves golf. He lives and breathes golf. He's so passionate about it. He's good at it. He's a pro player. He's played like the Australian Open and things like this, and he plays a lot of 2020. That's when I first met him, when he was playing 2020 Pro Tour events in 2020. That's when I first met him. But he just gets it, and he's not afraid to put himself out there. Do you know what I mean? Like he just it's not rocket science what he does, but he does it, and he just says, I just bulldoze my way into schools and just say, let me teach your kids golf. He just goes to community centres. He just advertises. He just markets himself. He just gets out into the community. But he's got that personality as well. You know, you've met him. He's just a great guy to be around. He's just always happy. You know, he's a nice person to be around. And he'll openly admit it himself. What he's doing, it's anything that anybody could do. If you've got a golf club and you want to build a junior section, what he does, we could all do. We could all go around to schools. We could all do these things. You just got to get up and go to do it. And there's never been. I'm a big fan of Aaron, as you know. I'm good friends with him on a personal level as well. And big year for him in 2022, because not only did he win the award, he became a father as well. So congratulations, Aaron. And yeah, he just gets it. He's the right person to have. You know, you could put him in charge of the Belfry or St Andrews junior section, and it would be the best junior. It would just go off the scale. He's just got it.
Now, we've been very fortunate on this podcast that we've met more people like that, and I think it's very interesting the fact that the very following podcast we met someone who's very similar. You used the word passion there. We did a podcast on junior golf in Ireland. We had Stephen Barrett, who's the New Forest golf professional, also Irish golf journalist Emma Selfom, but Michael Gallagher, who's the Irish Junior Open Tour organiser. If you can't remember what Michael looks like, that's Michael. That's the trophies for the event that he organises. I mean, this is someone that you mentioned about passion and going out there and actually, you know, putting the effort in. This is a guy who got Gary Player involved in his tour, you see. So we actually had
I had a right time during that podcast. I had a great time doing that podcast.
Absolutely,
really
yeah. Yeah, you know, and this is a guy who knows what he's doing as well. So that was on junior golf in Ireland. Actually, we did do ones on the ninth podcast. We did one on Scotland as well. I think we've got a photo of when we were up in Scotland. That was when the fog wasn't. You can see the golf course there, Ian. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a picture. I've uploaded a picture. One of my the photo of the year for me was this one. Right, there's a story behind it. Obviously, that's Faldo Series. Now we have been hired by Faldo Series to go up and broadcast the final day. Now I'm based in Berkshire, so those of you who are au fait with your geography of the British Isles will know that the Berkshire is down here, Scotland is up here, and if you don't know, then it's a bloody long way. So we drove all the way up to Scotland the day before, stayed in a hotel, got to the course, no,
and it looked like that.
Tournaments cancelled. I went to drive all the way back again. We got 2 minutes of live coverage. That was it.
But we used it on the podcast, though. Yes, we did.
I did actually collect some really. I got additional footage as well, and some of the players were brilliant because they took us out. We went to do some putting practice and get them to do some drills and stuff like that, and they were great. But yeah, unfortunately, it's just the way of the weather up there, isn't it, on the Scottish coast? And it's just and because the juniors. It's a difficult decision for Matthew and the team at Faldo Series because everyone's like, oh, you got to play. But they're responsible for, 60, 70 juniors going out on a golf course.
Yes.
And when you can't see that far, I mean, it lifted at one point, didn't it? But then 20 minutes later, it came back again.
Yeah, but it lifted to the point whereby you could see about 150 yards. But even then, you know these kids can hit the ball 300 yards. Well, you hit it straight into whiteness. Where on earth's the ball gone? You know.
And who's in front of you? You don't know who's just walking across. Do you? So we had one about safety. I'm sure we'll touch on that, won't we? Safety in golf. That was a great example of making the right. It's a hard decision, but it was the right decision because you're responsible for juniors. If something had gone wrong, then Faldo Series could have been in a lot of trouble. So it was the right call. Difficult, but a right call.
Yeah. On the same show, we also hear from Junior Tour Score Scotland organiser Paul Gibson, and actually the interview I mentioned there, which we did with Scott Newman, who actually ended up being the winner of the Faldo Series Scotland Boys Under 16. We did an interview with him as well. Actually, the previous week we did a podcast on junior county golf. We had LET Pro Felicity Johnson on, and also Warwickshire Boys team manager Simon Parsons and Cambridgeshire director of junior golf David Gamble. Now, the reason why I don't remember this one too much is because my internet went absolutely pear-shaped and you had to take over, if you remember. So from when I spoke to Simon and David afterwards, they said they really enjoyed it, kind of thing. I don't know if that's the fact that I wasn't involved, the fact that they really enjoyed it.
It was a funny one, Steve. Not because you weren't there. I mean, you were sort of in the background, but you had terrible internet that day. We both suffered that fate last year at times, didn't we? But yeah, no, they were really, really good, and I got a lot of insight. I learned a lot of things that I didn't know that day.
Yeah, absolutely.
Night.
So we covered county junior golf. We also did in the 10th podcast, we did funding in junior golf, because obviously we mentioned a little bit about the cost there. Now there are ways of getting funding to help your own junior club, and with that we had Brian Mudge, who was the golf professional at Overston Park. He used, when he first started working within junior golf, he used I think it was HSBC Bank. They did funding, and also he used the Golf Foundation as well, and got funding to promote his junior section there. On the same show as well, we had European Challenge Tour pro Ryan Evans. He came on and described about how he tried to get funding for when he was in the junior section to eventually get himself to that level. And also Golf Foundation Regional Officer Stacey McNicholas, she was on as well. The following week is one that you alluded to a little earlier. We did a little bit on actually, it wasn't the one you alluded to, but we did one on health and fitness. Ryan was on that one as well, because Ryan was talking about he had a cancer scare where he had a mole in his ear and he had to get it removed, and now he wears the bucket hat. So it's fascinating hearing from him. And also we heard from junior golfer Ryan Gavin. You might remember this story whereby a year ago he broke his back, and he's only 15 years old with a broken back. I mean, fortunately, he's come back and actually did really well this year, won a couple of big events, won the county championships in Warwickshire. So well done to him. And we had fitness trainer Jamie Greaves on, who's worked with some of the best players in the world, actually, on working on their fitness kind of thing. So it was fascinating to hear how health and fitness is becoming more of an issue now. And in particular with junior golfers, as we well know, they're out there to try and smash the ball as hard as they can, kind of thing, and obviously that brings benefits, but it can also bring, as possibly the case a little bit with Ryan, whereby it can bring issues if you don't quite get it right. So it's fascinating to hear that. Now, next podcast, we've got a photo as well, which gives a better indication about what was involved with this. We covered Irish golf, we covered Scottish golf, we had to cover Welsh golf, didn't we? And there's a guy there by the name of Gareth Bale. I think he's going to turn professional. I think he used to do some stuff with another sport. I'm not sure.
I'm not so sure he's going to turn. It's hard work. It's hard. Do you know what I mean? Like, it is really, really, and I see it broadcasted. I've never got anywhere near the pro ranks, but I see it broadcasting, like the difference between the really good players and then the pro players. And there's just that gap over 18 holes. It's like, and Gareth Bale will know this, being a professional footballer. There's a difference between a championship player and a Champions League player. Like, no disrespect, but there's just something, and it might not be noticeable constantly, but it will be noticeable at certain points. Gareth Bale's a very good golfer, so I hear it, and good luck to him if he wants to go to it. Why not? I mean, Gareth Bale's in the envious position where, he doesn't have to make any money off it. So it's not like he's fighting for his dinner, is he? Like a lot of pros are trying to do. They need to make the cut so they can earn a living. You don't need to worry about that. So he's playing with no pressure. But that was a good one as well, because we know quite a lot of Welsh golfers. In fact, we did the Wales Fowler Series Wales Championship, didn't we, as well? Not last year. Well, I didn't do it last year, but the year before.
Yeah. So on that show was Golf Wales' Theo Baker and Wales Mini Masters organiser Andrew Jones. I think we actually got another photo, because that event we were promoting that event with the Gareth Bale. I think eventually it took place the following week. Callum Hook there won the competition, so well done to Callum. You might mention this in the news a little bit earlier, but obviously we saved it for the actual podcast. So that was the show where we did on Wales. Now, the next three, we kind of split into three parts. We did minorities in junior golf. So we did one on disabilities. Got, I think, a couple of photos of what was involved with that. On that show, we had Schools Sports Inclusive Development Officer Michelle Reeves, golf professional Kieran Thomas, and England Golf Young Ambassador Emily Horsted. And we also had junior golfer Ellie Gamble. I think we've got a video of talking to Ellie, and it was fascinating. Ellie was the daughter of David Gamble, who came on the podcast a few weeks earlier. Let's hear from Ellie, because I think it's quite inspirational, some of the things that she said.
I started playing golf when I was about 3. I used to play a little par 3 course a lot, all the time, like with my brother and my dad. But I was 8 when I joined my first club, which is Ely, which is my home course. And I started with 9 holes, building up to 18 holes. And I was playing lots of 18-hole competitions, working my handicap, just trying to, it's just what I did. And then, I just started to really struggle. I couldn't 18 holes, it would send me, I'd come home and I would just lie here on the sofa and I would just sleep for a few hours, and then I'd get up and go to bed, and sometimes it would even wipe me out for a few days afterwards. Before I got sick, was not that fussed about golf. It was something that I did because it was just something I grew up with. It was what my brother did. I was kind of just, your brother's doing this, come on, let's do this. I enjoyed it, but it was just kind of like a chore. But it was taken away from me, and I was not happy with that. And I realised just how much I love it, and it wasn't just something my brother did. And I just kind of really fell in love with it. We brought it back to just, not really playing at all, just going out, playing a few holes of an evening, and then, getting to the fourth, the fifth, and I can't go on anymore. I'm just gonna cause myself to be in bed for a week. And then, I'd be able to do 9 holes and walk 9 holes. And then when bigger competitions came along, I got a doctor's note, I can use a buggy, because there was no way I was walking 18 holes, and even days the other week I had a golf competition, there was no way I was walking 18 holes, so I needed a buggy.
And how do you know what you can or can't do? I mean, you say there are periods whereby after 4 or 5 holes you might finish. If that's the case, there are times whereby you can play 18 holes.
Yeah. It's really hard. I am someone who wants to jump in all feet, does not want to say no. I was supposed to be playing in a golf competition this morning, but I had to say no because I wasn't up for it. And it's something you just got to learn to deal with. It kind of gets you down. It not only, does it affect me physically, being able to play golf, but it's a massive mental battle trying to learn what your body can and can't do, because you want to do it. But you just, after such a long period of time, you just get to know that not up for it.
It's very honest, wasn't it, Novelli?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, the thing about that, which I remember, obviously this was off air, but David Gamble sent me a text message afterwards and said he's the proudest dad in the world. The way that she explained what she was going through, and this is someone who you look at her, she doesn't look disabled at all, kind of thing. But some of the things that she was going through away from the golf course, and I think she spoke fantastically. And basically, it was a lovely podcast talking to her as well. So that was disabilities we were talking about. The next podcast was about ethnic minorities. So we had PGA professional Trey Niven on. We had Ladies European Tour professional Talia Martin on. And we also had Kai Williams, we mentioned him earlier, England Golf Young Ambassador of the Year. I think we've got a nice little photo of Kai. The reason why I say nice little photo is because I took that photo, so I can say that's a nice little photo. So
Kai's a really nice. He's a really nice kid, ultra mature as well for his age. I met him at I think at Woodall Spa. Actually, yes. I met him at Woodall Spa. He's ultra mature. He's so switched on. He's that lad. It's brilliant. He really is. And Talia Martin, just touching on Talia because I've covered her quite a bit with 2020 Pro Tour and bits and bobs like that. She never stops smiling, and she's got a mum on her bag. Honestly, they just make you like Aaron. They're like the female version of Aaron. They just make you so happy. They just make you so happy to be there.
Absolutely. I also have to mention we mentioned about the pro-am coming up in April, and I'm putting a team towards that. Kai on the back of winning that award is in my team. So,
is he?
So he will be playing in that pro-am. So absolutely. So yes. So that was on ethnic minorities. Then the third of the 3-part was on girls golf. So interesting with this one, we had Talia on as well. She was on the show. Junior golfers Eloise Feely, and also Ellie was on as well, talking about girls golf as well. But we had probably our 2 biggest names of the year who came on and did interviews with us.
I was on. I was on.
Absolutely, you were on as well. Oh, so the second and third biggest names of the year. Sorry, I apologise. Solheim Cup star Bronte Law. Let's hear from what Bronte had to say then.
In England, I think junior golf is a huge part of the golf club dynamic at every club across the country. I think the strength of junior sections that we have, and the number of kids participating in the sport is fantastic, and I think that it's grown a lot over the last 5 or so years. When I was younger, I was the only girl really at the golf club, so I grew up playing with the lads. So I would say it probably gave me the competitive side, that I have, because they compete for everything. I mean, just throwing balls around a chipping green, it's like, you're playing for a couple of quid here and there, and it just taught me a different way of thinking from a very young age, and I just wanted to be competitive with them. And then moving forward after that, it just kind of bled into the whole of the game, and really helped me kind of progress in terms of having different short game skills. And they pick the most crazy chips onto a green that you'd never usually do, and I remember it fondly. I loved being a part of the England golf setup. I think I benefited from it massively, and I hope that they continue to kind of thrive going forward.
What was the balance between having fun and the competitive side, particularly at a very young age for you?
Well, see, being competitive is fun for me. That's the difference. That is the fun, is being competitive and competing and winning, and that is the fun part. So for me, it's all encompassing. It's the more competitive situation, the more fun I'm having, and I guess just kind of wired a little bit different in that respect.
But that's not a unique experience, and in particular you mentioned about you were the only girl. I think that's a very similar experience with Charlie Hill, for example. At her home club, she was the only girl there as well, and it was a case of she wanted to beat the boys, and the boys didn't want to lose to the girl.
Exactly, yeah.
Is that same with yourself?
Absolutely, yeah, 100%. And there's 100% that was a contribution as to why we're stood here now and in that position, because the boys don't mess around. It's ruthless, and I would say that probably contributed massively to the reason why we're able to perform at this level now, on the LPGA and on the LET.
So if there's a girl watching this, or a parent of a girl watching this, what would your advice be as far as to get into junior golf?
Well, the hardest part is starting. Once you start, it's all fun and games from then. I mean, I've met some of my best friends through golf, so even if by the end of it you don't take it down the career path, the friends that you make will be lifelong lasting, and it teaches you a lot of values that I think are important to carry through your life, and learning those at a young age, I think, is something that you kind of get a head start on a lot of other people.
So that was Bronte Law talking as well. At the same event, we also caught up with Georgia Hall. Now, Georgia Hall backed the Robert Rock Junior Golf Tour. She was a sponsor for one of the events on that. Let's hear from Georgia, of course, the British Open winner.
I mean, he obviously runs junior organisation tournaments, and I love just trying to inspire young kids to get into golf. And he asked if I wanted to be a part of one of the tournaments near my birthday, and I said yeah, of course, I'd like to help.
And obviously promoting girls golf as well, that must be particularly important for yourself.
Yeah, definitely. More girls get into the game of golf, the better. I didn't have that much growing up, so now I can be a good role model for the youngsters coming through, and like I said, Robert's doing a great job with the junior tour.
In the sense that you didn't have that much when you were growing up, what do you mean by that? As in you didn't play too much golf?
No, I mean, I didn't have that tournament really to play in, and other ones nearby, and I didn't really know any other women golfers at that point when I was 8 or 9, so I think it's important to get your friends into golf.
How important is it then to just promote girls golf, because you obviously, Charlie Hill, Bronte, people like that are giving people a little bit of inspiration in the sense that you can make a career out of it.
It's so important because women's golf is growing every year, and like I said, it's great to do when you're younger, and it's a way to bond with friends and family, fresh air as well, exercise. I mean, there's so many benefits, and it's just most of the time peaceful.
Oh,
So
there's some good
that was
names there, Stephen. There's some good names coming on the podcast.
Not only that as well, let me tell you that those two interviews were done on the first day. Let me tell you, at the end of that tournament, who finished first and second?
at Georgia Hall and Broadsley Law.
Absolutely. I should have put some money on it, but there you go. So, but there you go. Yeah, absolutely. It was great to talk to both of those, and obviously very passionate about girls golf and junior golf as well. So
yeah.
Now that podcast was the end of the three, if you like, the three-parter on minorities. Next one we did was on elite junior golf. So with that, we spoke to fellow series competitor and US college golfer Finn Cummins. And then the following podcast was one on professional golf. It was just me and you chatting about live golf as well and how that might affect professional golf. Obviously, we've spoke about the Euro Pro Tour, how that's gone by the wayside, and how that might affect junior golf in years to come. And it was fascinating that we are talking about junior golf, but that affects it, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, it's a very important subject for me because I'm involved in all aspects. In fact, when I say I didn't do a huge amount of golf, I was at Live Golf. I was at the Centurion Club. Fortunately, we had accreditation for that event, which was great. And you see the impact, and these juniors are looking for a pathway. They're looking for a progression, a route to get to the top. And with Europro going, and I mean, if you look in the last 12 months, Steve, from a professional trying to make it, and a lot of the golfers that we talk about, junior golfers, are going to play in these tours. A lot of them already play in 2020 Pro Tour events. A lot of them have already played a lot of Clutch Pro Tour events. Jamaica Tour is now gone. 1836 Tour went last year. Europro's gone. So in the space of 12 months, 3 options of competing for money have gone. So now there's only really Clutch, which is now officially the feeder series to Challenge Tour, and 2020 Pro Tour. I mean, I know you've got the Stephen Gallagher up in Scotland. As I said, Scotland a long way. Scotland's a real long way. But it does affect for juniors because they are looking at what's the next step. What can I play in? They want to play these events. It's not the end goal, but they want to be playing in these mini tour events, these developmental tour events, for competition, to play with a scorecard in your hand, to win a bit of money as well. Yeah, you're not going to become a millionaire, but to win some money, to get a bit further up, and the fallout at the top, as I always say, every single sport, it's affected by what happens at the top at grassroots. So if there's a big battle going on between Live Golf and PGA, suddenly PGA found a load more money to suddenly compete with Live Golf. So where does that mean the junior game is going to struggle because there's suddenly going to be less funds because they're trying to keep up with each other? It's like keeping up with the Joneses, isn't it? They're actually, instead of feeding their own kids, they're just feeding their own things. Do you know what I mean? But anyway, I could go on forever about that. There's an image about it anyway.
Yeah, and that was a Fowler Series event, and obviously they've gone down that route whereby I think their schedule for next year involves more events whereby up to the age of 25, where they give them the opportunity to earn cards to play on the Challenge Tour and things like that, and DP World Tour. So they are trying to bridge that gap and give more opportunities to younger golfers to play in those types of events, which is credit to Matthew and what they're trying to do. So obviously that was that was the podcast where we covered professional golf. Next couple of podcasts were slightly different. Now actually they started bringing more opportunities for the Progress Junior Golf podcast because we started working closer with the Golf Foundation. So we did a podcast where we spoke to the Golf Foundation regional officer Alice Lowe, and we also had England Golf Young Ambassador Katie Amos on the show. So we're discussing about what the Golf Foundation was all about. It's a charitable organisation, so obviously they're trying to raise money to help golf. I think it's their 70th year this year, or was last year. So it's been going a long period of time. So it was fascinating to hear from them. And then the following podcast, we've started introducing and started partnering up with the England Golf Young Ambassadors officially. As we mentioned earlier, we had a few of them on. I think that actually is Kai. I think so. Yeah, it looks like it. Yeah, and actually that was at the Open Championship. So that's what the kind of work that they do, the Young Ambassadors, and obviously with the Golf Foundation as well. And the show that we had England Golf Young Ambassador Jaleese van der Merle, and also past England Golf Young Ambassador Ali Jodavayu. So they both came on the show and started describing about what the England Golf Young Ambassadors, what their role is, and how they trying to give youngsters a voice within the game, and I think that's important, and that's why we are partnered up with them, and that's why we'll be in 2023 as well, and we'll be doing a lot more work. And I know that you'll be doing some work with one of them in particular, with some of the things that you're going to be doing this year as well, which is great.
Yeah, exactly. We've got Jem Myers is going to be joining us co-coms for Sunnydale Foursomes, which is great. So it's just really building.
Yeah. Now, next podcast which we covered a subject which, once again, is a tricky one to deal with when you're organising events, and that's etiquette. Organised events, clubs, and things like that. So on that show, we had England Young Ambassador Emily Furness was on, and former golf club manager John Gilding. So we had the point of view of a junior, of how they deal with it, and also how a golf club deals with it as well, which was fascinating as well, because obviously it can be an issue. I think we've got a photo of etiquette, if you like, of the kind of things that you have to do within golf. You take your cap off, you shake hands with them, those little things, but they can make a difference.
Steve, let me just stop you there. After you, go ahead.
Thank you very much. After you, yes. No, but these types of things, and they are things you say that jokingly, kind of, but these are things which are going to help you in life, aren't they?
Yeah. Absolutely. We jest, but they are life skills as well, aren't they?
Absolutely, yeah. So that was fascinating to talk about. The following podcast was another one which was just me and you, and it was me more talking about things which I get involved with, and that's running junior opens, because it's something I passionately believe in, about trying to get it right, because there are good ways of doing that, there are bad ways of doing it. I've got it wrong on many occasions, I've got it right on many occasions as well, you see. So it's trying to go through the process of giving advice to clubs about how to run these types of events and how to promote them, how to get more boys and girls playing, bringing in 9-hole competitions for those ones with higher handicappers. For the ones who don't have a handicap, put them out on forward tees and that type of thing. So it's fascinating trying to get that across. Next podcast, which was a really interesting one, because this is one whereby you could almost take junior golf out of it and say that this is a podcast which has nothing to do with junior golf, but actually it had a massive impact on junior golf, and that's sustainability in golf. So with that, we had he had England Golf Young Ambassador Alex Holden, and other young ambassadors are certainly trying to do something within that. I think they've got a scheme whereby they've done their own bottles, whereby one use only bottles, those ones where, as opposed to the ones, so not one use only, where you can use it on many occasions. But also, we're going to hear from him. We had GEO Foundation for Sustainable Golf Executive Director Jonathan Smith. Let's hear what he had to say about junior golf and what role they can play in sustainability.
First of all, it's really important for the generation of people that make decisions about golf and clubs and more generally to think about future generations. I mean, this is about the sort of future resilience and success of the sport of golf, because there are some of those sustainability issues that are out there are challenges if we don't have some of the products that we currently need to manage those golf courses. Public perception, pressure on land. For nature, we are seeing some examples where people are saying, why don't we turn our golf course into a nature reserve, without currently understanding that it actually does perform like a nature reserve. So there are some pressures here, and so golf getting involved in sustainability is about protecting the future of the game, its success and its growth and its kind of resilience, and how in 100 years' time, how good is golf going to be in a world that's become even more preoccupied with sustainability? But it's, as you say, it's also really about, if golf becomes more sustainable now, it's looking after the green spaces that we need. It's looking after the biodiversity. It's protecting the water quality. It's making sure there's enough water for, us to drink and to irrigate crops and to use on golf courses. So it's about making a difference for the next generation. So I think that's the big thing now. And I think we can see that in golf, golf really taking on board that responsibility that it has, as well as its opportunity to be at the forefront. But it would be fantastic to also think about how, young golfers now and the families that golf is working hard to bring in, can be part of that movement and be part of helping golf on this journey. Because we know from studies, attitudinal studies, that young people are very concerned about the environment. They know that that the society and that human beings depend on the environment in much like sharper focus than our generation understood that. So it would be great to get some of their ideas and some of their concerns into the mix. And to hear some of that in terms of what they would hope that golf would look like, in the decades ahead, and actually be proud in what golf can help contribute to the whole global sustainability movement in the decades ahead. And there's some practical things, of course, that every golfer can do and every young golfer in junior golf section could do.
So that was Jonathan Smith talking about sustainability and how important it is for junior golfers. And like I say, Ian, it's a subject which is massive, but it is probably more important for juniors than it is for our generation.
Yeah, I mean, it's important for our generation, but it's one of those topics, isn't it, that we all know it's important, and we all know we should probably do something, but we don't. I mean, just speaking from my point of view, I'm sure there's lots of people who do, but it is a massive issue, and it's not just a golf issue, is it? It's a huge issue. But that you could deep dive into that. Probably, yes. We could create a whole year's worth of podcasts just about sustainability.
Yes. And we will come to what we're looking to do in 2023, and I'm sure those type of topics will crop up. The next podcast was the 23rd podcast, so we were getting towards the end of the year. Then we did one on the Founders Series. I was out over in the UAE for the grand final, so we had. I wasn't.
Still waiting for my invite.
Waiting for that invite, absolutely.
Is it under here?
No,
Matthew.
No.
Still haven't got the invite in the post. Yeah, I know there's been postal strikes, but.
Yeah, not that bad. So we had, it was a. I think you might have the leaderboard, the final leaderboard then, because we had two of the competitors who finished on that final leaderboard there. In at 7th place there, Anna Dawson, she came on the show, and also we heard from Max Weaver as well, who we mentioned earlier, who finished in the top 10 in the end. Did a really good final round actually to get into the top 10. So it was great to I think we might have a photo of Anna as well actually during the tournament as well, and obviously there she is with Sir Nick there watching on in the background, and it was great to see.
Look at that pose, by the way, Steve, of Anna. Right.
Yes.
Now Anna's also our brand new. So if you're watching Anna, congratulations. I haven't asked permission, by the way, but you are our headline image. Look at this.
Absolutely, yes. Yes.
See that? Look at that. What a pose.
Yeah. She's mastered it, yeah.
She knows what she's doing.
And also knows what she's doing on the golf course as well.
That's what I mean. Exactly that. I mean, there is proof of it.
Well, not only that as well, but she also gained, as we covered, I think, in the last news, she also gained a card for the Ladies European Tour as well. So well done to her on just a few weeks, obviously, after this. So it's great to cover the Founders Series and about what they do about promoting junior golf as well. Next podcast, slightly different issue. It's one that you mentioned a little bit earlier. We covered safeguarding within junior golf. I mean, such a massive subject because it affects, from the very young kids to right the way up to any age, and of course for adults as well, because it's important that fact that we put the.
I'll tell you, we went heavy. Place. We went heavy the end of the last year, didn't we? Sustainability, safeguarding.
Sustainability, absolutely, wow. Yes. So, and within that podcast, we had the England Golf lead safeguarding officer Petra Devona came on the show. Let's hear what Petra had to say about safeguarding.
Okay, well, Safe Golf itself is a programme which is accreditation for clubs and counties, and it enables them to provide evidence to England Golf to show that they are meeting their safeguarding requirements. Now, before Safe Golf, clubs were carrying out safeguarding and counties as well, but there was no consistent approach. And we found that with the best will in the world, some of the clubs were a little misguided in what they were delivering, or they'd had to improvise a little. So you'd have a volunteer who worked in a school, so they brought their school policy over and they'd sort of hodgepodged it together to work for the sporting environment, and it didn't quite fit. So what we did was we've provided a suite of resources which have enabled clubs to get everything that they need in one place to make sure that they are meeting their safeguarding requirements under legislation, and that they're doing it within a sporting context. So it really does work and it's fit for purpose. And
it's aimed at not just clubs, but also individuals
as well. Yeah, of course, yeah. And within that, the PGA are part of Safe Golf, so they are responsible for making sure that their PGA pros are Safe Golf accredited as well. They check that their PGA pros have got the right background and experience to be carrying out the role with juniors, and they also make sure that they're up to date with their safeguarding training. So the PGA work alongside us really to make sure that the clubs are accredited to the standard that we need them to be.
So, like you say, a massive subject and an important and also sometimes a difficult subject to talk about, because you want to make sure that you get that one right. I mean, if any of the subjects that we spoke about on a day-to-day basis, that's the one you want to get right. I mean, safeguarding you want to get right for years to come, but that's the one whereby if you get it wrong on that day, it can have catastrophic effects on that day. And we covered some pretty heavy topics as you mentioned, but it was also one we had to cover really as well.
Yeah, it's a legal thing as well, isn't it? So yeah, not for us.
And obviously,
I'm just saying safeguarding.
Well, no,
we didn't have to cover it legally. I'm just saying.
No, yeah. Well, no, I mean the point about it is obviously you doing the video and me taking photography as well. That's something which we have to take into consideration when we're covering the events as well. So now the last two podcasts we covered, we did one on college golf in the UK. Obviously earlier in the year we did one on college golf in the US. So for that podcast we had England Golf Young Ambassadors, Emily Furless and Jen Myers, who of course you're going to be doing some work with as well. And also we had 2020 Pro Tour co-founder Chris Hansen on, and Aspire to Be Academy of Sport Head of Performance Jake Richardson. So we spoke about what you can do college wise in this country. It can be from the age of 16 onwards, the A levels or university as well. And then for the final podcast of the year, we cover winter golf within juniors. Obviously, at this time of the year, it's one thing which we mentioned on regular occasions. There's not too many competitions taking place, but obviously there's still opportunities for juniors to go out there. So we wanted to find out, what can you do? What should you be doing this time of the year? So we had England Golf Young Ambassador Emily Horsted on, and we had 2020 Pro Tour co-founder Chris Hansen on. This is what Chris had to say about winter golf for juniors.
Hour at the driving range in the cold, just hitting shots is quite a long time, isn't it? So I think if you can bring some groups together, and then maybe it takes a bit of pressure off parents having to do it every week. They can split that up between a group, and I say maybe 2 hours at the driving range and 5 or 6 kids get together. I think it'd be a nice way to sort of keep them going. If they are keen to want to get better, to structure an hour of time where I'm sure they have a coach where there's a little bit of development time of doing certain technical things, but then the coach should be able to set them, or whether the juniors have to do it themselves, but if they've got a coach, set them some little challenges. So there might be they'll do 10 minutes technique, and they'll do 10 minutes of a little challenge where it might be 20 shots and they have to record how many they hit between 2 targets, or 20 shots and they have to record how many yards they missed the target by each shot. And these games can be made as hard or as easy as possible, just to keep them engaged, keep them interested. And I think if this is quite maybe a high level, but I think golf's really difficult, and to win at golf is very, very rare. So I think in practice, you've got to create opportunities to win. So like if they've got loads of little games, and in the winter they do a schedule of games every other week, and they can track it, and they keep beating their own scores. They're doing all these little winning emotions and feeling really good about themselves through the winter, as opposed to just hitting balls and not really feeling improvement, or not really getting any excitement or any motivation from anything. So hopefully it would keep you wanting to go back to the range to beat 10 out of 10. Oh, sorry, to get 17 out of 20, then to get 18 out of 20, then to get 20 out of 20, and give yourself a big pat on the back and a high five and a nice little reward from your parents or something.
So that was Chris Hansen talking about what you should be doing over winter and things like that, and hopefully kids watch that and are doing that and have been doing that over the weeks and months ahead. So that was the last podcast of 2022. So we did 26 podcasts. I think you'll agree, 26 different subjects, very different subjects. Some serious, a little bit more fun. Some guests on, some celebrities on, like us two, of course. But there's so much more to come, isn't there?
Yeah, I thought last year was fantastic, Steve. We certainly hit all the hard-hitting subjects as well. There was no shying away from anything. And, I'm really looking forward to this year, because golf, like any sport, it just develops. We will go back and touch on some of the subjects that we touched on last year, no doubt, because things change. We spoke earlier at the top of this show, didn't we, about the cost of living. When we did that one, it was back in February, March, and things were still a bit cheaper then, and now things have changed in literally 10 months or so, 9-10 months. So it's going to change. Things are going to be more relevant than they were. Things are going to develop. We're going to have more guests on this year as well, more A-list stars. We're going to have more junior golfers on, ambassadors on. It's just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And I think it's going to be some year this year.
I mean, just to give you an idea about some of the subjects which we are thinking about covering. And by the way, anyone out there who thinks of the things which we should be doing, then please get in touch, because we're more than happy to consider options. If you want to come on and actually speak about something which you feel passionately about within junior golf, then please get in touch, because we're more than happy to talk to you. The next podcast which we're going to do, and this is something which, ironically enough, we haven't really touched on, and that's we're going to do a beginner's guide to junior golf, because, as we well know, Ian, the fact that there are going to be kids, parents out there who know nothing about junior golf whatsoever. What do they do? When they turn up and suddenly someone says to them, you need a driver. What's a driver? Driver. Well, my mum drove me here. What are you on about? There are things whereby, oh, that's a bogey, really? Slip me fit. No, it's not. It can be all sorts of things. Which
terminology is a good one. Terminology is something. Breaking the stereotype, I think, is something that is. You know me. I'm not a traditionalist.
Yes.
I like tradition to an extent, but I do think golf is about 30 years behind a lot of other mainstream sports, and it can help itself. I mean, I'm involved with a lot of golf media brands as well, and there was a golfer the other day, he had his shirt untucked, and there was outrage. And I was like, so what? like when Tommy Fleetwood wore a hoodie and things blew up.
Yes. I saw that story, the one you're talking about. Yes.
I mean, for me personally, that's sort of like, this shouldn't even be newsworthy, but it is. So that is where things are, and people won't agree with me. Some people will think I'm trying to ruin the game. I'm not. I'm just trying to get people playing the game, and I really think people just need to be comfortable in themselves in order to play the game, and that comes from not knowing what a driver is, or what, and being too scared or embarrassed to maybe approach somebody and say, I don't know, because the fear of, you don't know. What do you mean you don't know? How do you not know? Like, you don't belong here if you don't know. And that's not right,
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting as well. I mean, you mentioned about if you're joining the club and you don't know things. That's one of the subjects we look. How do you join a golf club? Because that's the question whereby, it can be daunting first turning up at a golf club and going, what do I do here? It's
and other things as well. This will make you laugh. My mum, bless her, when I did the English Amateur Champs, not this year, last 2021, up in Leeds at Moortown. My mum's in Harrogate so it's just down the road. Basically, we're in Leeds, but North Leeds on the Harrogate Road, only 10 miles away. And I said, Mum, why don't you come over and have a drink? She's like, well, I won't be allowed. I was like, what do you mean you won't be allowed? She's like, well, I'm not a member, so I won't be allowed up to the golf club. I was like, what are you talking about? Of course you'll be. But it's things like that. People think, unless I'm a member, I'm not allowed in. And it's creating barriers that shouldn't be there. Do you know what I mean?
And it's interesting as well, when we've just heard that clip from Chris there talking about some of the things which he was incorporating when, on the range with kids and things like that. One thing which you haven't even looked at, amazingly, we haven't even looked at coaching. We haven't actually specifically gone down the line of looking at how you actually coach juniors. So we're going to do, I think with that one, we'll probably do a two-parter. We'll look at younger juniors, those ones who are literally just starting out, and then ones perhaps who are a little bit older and trying to coach those ones who you might want to take the very good juniors to the next level kind of thing. So it'd be interesting to look at that. We're certainly going to do one on the rules, because I think that's actually cropped up this last week with myself doing an event whereby there was some kids there who weren't sure about certain rules within golf, and very basic rules like we talked about etiquette there. Pitch mark, repairing a pitch mark, they didn't even know. It's not part of the rules, but at the same time it can affect your game kind of thing, you see. So the things like that. Competition formats is another big one which I really want to touch upon, whether you go down the age category kind of competitions for juniors, or whether you go handicapped. You would have seen the story just broke. I think it might have been today, about England Golf bringing in new rules as far as elite competitions are concerned with handicaps, in the sense of they want to get away with supplementary scores, because it looked as if there were players who were getting into competitions with too many supplementary scores on their cards, you see. So obviously these types of things can affect.
Something needs sorting, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Something needs sorting.
We're going to look at committees as well, giving juniors a voice, getting juniors onto committees. Obviously, we've got the England Golf Ambassadors. They're very keen on getting themselves the opportunity to talk at golf clubs and giving, we give those juniors the opportunity on this podcast. Well, let's give them more of an opportunity within golf clubs, within golf unions, within golf, organisations.
I would like as well to get members on of golf clubs and get their opinion on juniors at their club, because I see it quite often. You see it in comments and things. Some think it's brilliant. Others are like, well, they shouldn't be clogging up. They shouldn't be playing. And I want to hear that argument then. If you turn around and say juniors should, because they are what's going to keep your golf club there for the next 50, 60 years. So if you think they shouldn't be allowed to play because they're juniors, come on and justify it. Let's not argue, but let's hear it. Let's get the opinion from both sides of the coin. To get a member who's pro and a member who's maybe against, but just hear what you want to say.
Absolutely, it's important, and also it's important to learn. Let's look. We are pro juniors. It's important that we try to put it ourselves in the other point of view. Of there are golf clubs out there. I mean, I went to a golf club recently who turned around to me and said, "We're not going to organise a junior competition because we're looking after our members." Because memberships have gone up, they need to look after their members to keep them, kind of thing. So I can see that mentality, the fact that they're the ones who pay a lot more for green fees.
Exactly. It's not digging out these people. It's a case of I get it. It's a business, a golf club at the end of the day, and if you've got finances to the cost of everything's gone up for golf clubs as well, and maybe it's just a case of, well, if we bring a junior side in, we can't afford it because we're going to lose paying members. Which that's why, because we can't afford it. It's not that we don't want to do it, we just can't afford it. Let's hear it.
So other subjects, we're going to look at talent spotting as well. How do you find the next Charlie Hull? How do you find the next Rory McIlroy? Actually,
you watch him on live sport now. That's how you find it.
Absolutely. Also, dealing with success and failure. I think it was Gavin earlier who was talking about how with his son, how do you? Because there are days whereby you can be fantastic. There are days when you're dreadful. That's golf, unfortunately. And it's keeping.
That is a really good subject, actually.
And actually, a very similar topic as well, but specifically about mental health within junior golf. And Emily Horsted, a young ambassador, has been on the podcast before. She really wanted to come on because she's found golf very important for her mental health. So it's very important, the fact that we give juniors the opportunity to explain why. I think I might have said to you previously, many years ago, someone said to me about the positive parts of your brain at the back of your head. So when you're walking around a golf course, put your head back, look at the golf course, and the blood runs to the positive parts of your brain. Now, I don't know whether there's any logic in that, or whether it's actually true or not, but it actually just makes sense, doesn't it? Go and have a look at the golf course. It's beautiful out there.
I feel better.
Yeah, but you need a brain, first of all. That's the thing.
Yeah, I don't have one of those.
Yes. And other things we're going to look at as well. We touched on a little bit. We're going to do something on schools golf as well. I know Aaron's very much into going to schools and things like that. We had, I think, Tommy from Schools Golf talking about his tournaments, and also Sixes League as well, which is something which is slightly different as well. So lots of different subjects. I mean, that's like I've ruled off probably 10 or 12 different subjects there, which we are going to be covering. But we did 26 last year, and I'm sure we're going to find other things to talk about, which we're going to fill another year's worth of podcast. Don't worry about that. And then with some big names as well to come. So it's going to be a good
year. This year, as well. As I said, we're going to have a question for every single podcast that we do. This one was, of course, which club are you a member of? Do comment below. We can see the comments. Also new for this as well. Wherever you're watching this, the podcast will stay. So we're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, LinkedIn, etc., etc. It's going to be repeated as well. So if you are watching this on the Sunday, hello. I hope you had a nice week. Hasn't the weather been great? Hasn't the weather been terrible? You choose whichever one applies. So we are going to repeat it. So if you did miss it, and you don't worry, it's going to be on Sunday as well. So there you go. Happy days. You don't have to miss any of it. Please do hit subscribe to our live spot now. That's the place to comment in the live chat section. There's a link in the body of this broadcast. There's also a link in the body of this broadcast, wherever you're watching it, to this website just below, progressjuniorgolf.com. Do check it out for everything. It's an absolute goldmine for junior golf. If you've watched this podcast, you have to go visit our website because you will not be disappointed.
Right, next podcast, the next Progress Junior podcast is on the 1st of February, Wednesday the 1st of February. We are going to be doing a beginner's guide to junior golf. We're going to have a professional on at least. We might have a junior on as well, just to talk about, what it's like to start the game, and giving a few ideas for people who really don't know anything at all about the golf. It's a very niche podcast, this junior golf, and that is probably a very niche subject because we're going to be looking at it from a real basic level. But I think it's important that we get this podcast out there, and we can obviously, as you mentioned there, we can show it to golf clubs. We can give it to them and say, give it out to young golfers that are coming into the sport and give them an idea about what golf is all about, kind of thing. So that's going to be the next Progress Gunner podcast. We're going to have loads coming up during the year, and we're going to have some big names, let me tell you, coming up very, very soon. And I don't just mean Ian Waterhouse. I mean some big names.
Can't get bigger than that. There you
Absolutely.
go.
All right.
Can I just say one last thing as well? So it's not actually golf related, but if anybody does fancy watching a bit of live sport this Sunday, you can. The men's and women's Premier Handball League is back. Nottingham against Manchester in the men's Premier Handball League. That throws off at 10:30. You can watch that on live sport now. And straight after 12:30, it's the women throw off Nottingham taking on Loughborough. So there you go. Live sport coming up for you this Sunday. Shameless plug.
Absolutely. And if you're watching the repeat, you missed it.
If you're watching the repeat, you missed it. They were great games, really good games. I can't believe
you missed it.
that team won. Brilliant.
Yeah.
or I can't believe it was a draw.
Yeah. I can't believe they abandoned it.
Yeah. Well,
I can't believe they had a power cut halfway through it. Who knows?
Yeah. You choose whichever one's applicable.
Absolutely, yeah. There's a reason why his company's called Live Sport now. It's because it is live, and this show is live, apart from the repeat. If that makes sense.
If you're watching it Sunday, it's repeat. But if you're watching it right now, it's live.
Absolutely. And one last thing as well, Aaron Cox, we want to just say a massive thank you to you because your record has now been broken. We have the longest podcast in Progress Junior Golf Tour history.
Sorry, Aaron. We'll have to get you back on, mate. Definitely
absolutely. We'll ask him 2 questions, and then we'll know we'll get more than an hour and a half of him. So yeah. Hey, look, hope you enjoyed the review of 2022. We've got a massive year ahead in 2023. We're going to have loads of junior stories, loads of junior subjects to cover, and it's going to be a real big year. So we shall see you very soon. We hope you have a good evening, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Take care. Bye-bye.